Hi and welcome to Simple Logistics. So today I would like to talk about the end of fossil fuels, especially the end of oil. I've been hearing for years now a saying that the age of stone didn't end because of lack of stones, and the age of oil is not going to end because we are going to run out of oil. Simply, some of the oil reserves that were not discovered yet, or even some that were already discovered but are kind of inaccessible, they probably will remain on the ground maybe forever. That's because the transportation sector is transitioning away from fossil fuels. And I believe, as Tony Seba does, that this transition is going to be faster than any one of us anticipated. So even now in emerging markets like in South America, for example, we have electric passenger vehicles on sale, and companies are acquiring a number of small cargo, delivery trucks which are battery electric. And every month you hear news about some other company, like Ambev, which is a giant beer manufacturer, and you hear a number of other companies here in South America, every month buying a quantity. They start with small purchases and then they keep enlarging their fleet of battery electric vehicles, but it's starting to pick up the speed now. So you see that sales are kind of outstripping production, like it has been with Tesla for years. Every bit of production capacity that Tesla can squeeze out meets market demand. They have people waiting to receive their cars. And it has been like that for years. On the other hand, the industry that still produces internal combustion engine vehicles is struggling with sales. So I think it's a strong professional opinion that we are going to transition away from fossil fuels towards biofuels. So ethanol is big here in South America, battery electric vehicles, and even maybe some hydrogen vehicles in select markets, like in Japan. I think they are going to transition to that kind of technology. And I will explain also why I think hydrogen is going to be the choice for some markets. So, hydrogen can be produced from the electrolysis of water. You just need a lot of energy, a lot of electricity to make that. So the problem today, the energy problem today, especially now that markets are recovering post-pandemic, there is winter in the northern hemisphere, so we see record highs for oil, gas, coal, all these, fossil fuels, because the demand for electricity is a lot higher and not the necessary quantity of renewables in place in the developed countries to meet the demand. What I think is going to occur, and I think that is a great possibility for especially emerging economies to enrich themselves in a sustainable way, is we are going to see more and more countries which are located near the equator, so they have hotter climate, and they don't have a high energy consumption in their own domestic markets. We are going to see those markets purchase, for example, lots of photovoltaic solar panels to produce cheap electricity. Solar panels today are the cheapest way to produce electricity. In these markets, there is also a lot of potential for energy production from the wind, which is still unused. In developed markets, you have used almost all the potential for production with wind generators. But in, for example, Africa, in South America, in some of these emerging markets, you have still a lot of potential that is untapped for renewables. So I think governments can invest in that, produce green hydrogen. So hydrogen, created by electricity that was generated from these renewables, and sell the hydrogen for the developed markets like Japan, for example, which has a huge problem to produce enough electricity there. Not that much potential for renewables. They have, after Fukushima, had many problems with their nuclear power plants. So, for Japan to meet their climate targets, their targets for greenhouse gas emissions, they are going to need a lot of hydrogen, and it has to be green. I think there is a huge opportunity for Australia, which is nearby. It has a large desert. You can cover the desert with solar panels. You can produce hydrogen, and hydrogen is pretty dense. If you compress it and you transport as liquid hydrogen, you can transport a lot of energy in a small package and sell that to countries that need more energy than they can produce, like Japan, like maybe the Netherlands, Germany, and so forth. So there is a huge potential there that can create a market for these low income countries where they can export, clean energy. They will help the planet, and they will help the transition from fossil fuels to hydrogen, for example, for the aviation sector. If there is enough green hydrogen going around, which is a problem today, we don't have a lot of that. But if you have enough green hydrogen on the market, the aviation sector can, and the big players like Airbus are already researching that. They can burn hydrogen with no emissions at all. So no, carbon footprint, no emission of, soot or any other dangerous chemical. When hydrogen and oxygen burn, the exhaust is only water vapor. So it's one of the cleanest fuels available out there. You just need a ton of electric energy to produce it in the first place, and it better be green, otherwise you're not doing anything good for the environment. So that's why I think the biggest producers of hydrogen are not going to be in these developed countries, which are already struggling to meet their energy demands. I think the great producers of hydrogen fuel that is going to replace all fossil fuels, for example, in the aviation sector, they are going to be produced in these low income countries and help them, become medium and high income countries because of that. And also, there is a lot of other technologies, for example, new types of batteries, new types of engines with less energy consumption that are going to help all countries transition away from fossil fuels, meet their greenhouse gas emission targets, and then oil is going to be used only to produce chemical compounds, maybe plastics or something like that. Even though I think most plastics in the world are going to be recycled, so you will have a smaller need to produce new plastics, but that will continue to come from oil. So oil extraction is still going to happen in the future, but the biggest demand right now for oil is for energy production in thermal power plants and energy for the transportation sector. If you eliminate those two, which I think it will happen really, really fast, then the extraction of oil only for the petrochemical industry is really, really small, is neglectable, and you're going to have a lot of oil that is not going to be extracted from the ground, and the planet, the environment will thank us for that. So it's both an analysis and a wish that the end of oil, the end of the oil age, is quite near its end. So those were my thoughts for today. Thank you very much. See you. Bye.